Let's see. This is going live. Let's see if this is live. Waiting for the stream. I just had to upgrade to Ecamm Pro. Standard gets you like 2 hours of interview time. I'm like, what's 2 hours going to do? Give me the 20.
Mark it down as an expense.
Yep. Oh, yeah. All right, let's go live. We're going live. Let's tweet this link out. As the Cowboys kick off, the Giants are going. It was chaos there as like leading up to David Taylor's match. Ooh, that's loud. Leading up to David Taylor's match, and the Bills have first and goal. That not used to NFL Sundays like that.
Yeah.
Join us. Let's talk worlds. Here's the link. I just tweeted it. All right. We're live. We'll give it a few minutes to let people join in. Let the people join in. I just tweeted the link if you want to retweet. We are live for America. I just tweeted out the link. Retweet it.
All right. Here we go.
I quote tweeted you. All right. Close this. Close this. Let's open this. I'm getting better at this going live thing. Oh, what a day of wrestling.
And it's sort of beautiful because I don't know anything about going live. The simpler the better for me. But what a day of wrestling. We got a day and a half, 2 days of wrestling in. And, day one couldn't have went any better for America with all four making the semis and three of them making the finals, right? Three, Vito, Taylor. Who am I missing?
So Vito, Taylor, Zain,
and then
Mason
for
bronze.
Made in a weight class where we thought that Mason could win or lose every bout. That's what we said in the previous show. We thought he could be competitive in every bout, but we also thought it's his first time at Senior Worlds, and the margins will be slim. For Mason to make the semis was a win, and
I had a feeling he came out. Yeah, he came out and he got 11-0. Vito got 10-0. Taylor got a pin in 14 seconds. Zain got 4-0 win. Like, we came out ready to go, ready to roll.
Yeah, we look good. And the flip side of that is Russia didn't. They put one in the finals. That was 61 against Vito, and their other three guys went 3-3 cumulatively. And so we always say wrestling's kind of weird because you don't have really a full season, right? You might see Geno Petriashvili one or two times before Worlds. And it's tough to get a read on where they're at. Are they, are they peaking? Are they looking good? Are they regressing? Are they getting better? And I'm using Geno as a example because he did not look great. And to that point, we don't see guys a lot, and we didn't see Russia for basically 2 years, and you don't know what to make of them. You don't know what to get out of them. What you're going to, you assume that you're going to get a hammer at every position because historically,
right,
they're just crazy good. But to see them be rather average, they put one in the finals, nobody else on day one. It's like, okay, so they're either their reps aren't their best reps, or their reps are their best reps, and they're just a little down right now. But it was eye-opening to see. And then Iran was doing well. So, we thought maybe it'd be hard to beat Russia this year with the composition of our lineup. But that's not the case. We could probably beat Russia. We might be able to beat Russia regardless.
I'll tell you what, too. I think, it's funny because initially Iran looked like they were off to a hot start. A real hot start. And they've dropped now as it stands after day two. It looks like USA in the lead with 110, Russia 70 if you count them, 65 for Georgia, 65 for Iran. And A lot of things.
I'm sorry. Say that again. 1, 2, and 3. Who's 1, 2, 3?
USA's won with 110 points. Russia / AIN, whatever, is in second if they were keeping score with 70. And then Georgia and Iran. Georgia and Iran are tied with 65.
Wow. So, yeah,
shout out EDB 215. Eric has been doing a good job keeping score. That's where I'm pulling those from.
But that's we follow everything, but we follow our guys closer, and so I expected to get out to a hot start because of our day one flight and our day one draws. I expected to drop off day one and day two, which we kind of did, right? Zane Richards went down. Help me out here.
So Zane Richards went down, and then his opponent lost next round, so he's eliminated. Chance went 1-1, looked good the first match, not so good the second. And then Zahid, same thing. Zahid looked awesome that first match, and then went down the next one. He's alive for repechage tomorrow. And then Dake, gold.
Right. So
we also, after a not so great morning, we went 4 for 4 in the medal round. 3 for 3 in gold, 1 for 1 in bronze.
Yeah, and Mason Parris winning that match is huge. It's just huge, right? That's I didn't watch the 5th place match, the true 5th. Did Kurbanov win?
I didn't watch that match either.
I'm gonna check that out right now because that's a guy that Russia will or will not qualify, at least at this time.
Listen, I'll tell you what.
We follow our guys. Mm-hmm. We follow our guys. So we don't quite know, like I said, okay, we're going to drop off on day 2 or what day 3. Iran might be looking. I don't pay as much attention to their draws as from the team points perspective, but you're right. I didn't expect them to drop off as much as they did.
Yeah, and it's funny because our medal round today really was a big swing, even just at 70 alone. Zain came out and whooped baby Yazdani, and you had a swing right there with Zain winning gold. That's huge.
Yeah. 2 head-to-head, right? That's 10 points.
Yep. And
it's really a 20-point swing.
Correct.
As much as a 20-point swing.
Right. And so you had both Taylor and Zain beat a Yazdani. So you have 40-point swing right there. Taylor and Zain winning was 20 points. If both Yazdanis win, that's 20 points the other way, and Iran's in first place right now.
Yeah, so that would be, it would be 90-90?
No, because we have, what I say we had, like 115, 105. We have 110 right now, so we'd have 90.
We'd have 100.
No, if both Taylor and Zain lost, I'm saying. If both Yazdanis won, we'd have 90 and Iran would have 85. It's a lot
Big
closer.
swings, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is good. Now, again, I kind of got to regroup and look at where we're at with who's left, right? Is Chance out?
Chance is out. Yep.
Okay, Chance is out. Zane's out. Dake's in the finals.
Zahid is match 1 tomorrow morning for repechage. He's alive for bronze.
Here's a silver lining with that. It's a non-Olympic weight, so I mean, we won a medal. But we're not in danger of not qualifying that weight because it's not an Olympic weight. Number 1. Number 2, he took out Iran. So that's a net positive there.
Yeah.
In points, right? So, and we can get into that match. That was a crazy match. But you want to start? Where do you want to start at?
The funny thing is America needed. When we can go weight by weight. America needed the Iranian. Nope, other way around. Sorry, I had the Azerbaijani who beat Zane Richards then wrestled the Iranian. So it was kind of a double whammy right off the gate where we needed Azerbaijan to win to potentially bring Zain back in.
And conversely, not that it ended up mattering because
no, it kept switching after every weight so the Iranian takes out the Azerbaijan kid, and then Abakurov beats the Iranian, and then Mićić beats him.
Such a great bracket.
Mićić Higuchi for the gold tomorrow. That'll be a good match. Mićić having himself a tournament. And I had texted.
Yeah. Who you text?
Well, I had texted you about the fact that when I started thinking, I'm like, so here's the first American wrestler to medal. And there's a couple times where, like, Amin beat Downey in 2019. I don't really count that because it's like our star got injured. Downey slipped in. So I don't really look at that. And then I think Mićić took fifth and outplaced Fix, who did not place in 2019 or something. But I'm talking medals. Here you have an American wrestling for another country, medaling for the first time in a weight where the American wrestling for U.S. doesn't.
Yeah, and then you start getting the boo birds. Oh well, he went the easy route. Oh well, he's disloyal or whatever.
Well, it is an easier route, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's why they're doing it.
It's an easy. That's why they're doing it. That's why they're doing it. If it was a layup, if Stevan Mićić was guaranteed the spot on Team USA, you don't think he'd wrestle for USA?
Yeah.
That's why you do it, right? If Austin Gomez was guaranteed the spot at 65 for the United States, he wouldn't be wrestling for Mexico. It's why they do it. It's easier, but it's smarter.
It is smarter.
Listen, there's guys that have been grinding on the USA ladder. Take a Mike Machiavello. What if Mike Machiavello, his dad was born in Peru, right? What if Mike Machiavello would have had X amount of reps over the years at the World Championships? Stevan Mićić would have he's had X amount of reps. He didn't have to fight through the spot. And so you have to compartmentalize. And I mean, maybe not, but I consider myself the most loyal, freaking rabid American.
That's probably Gilman. Gilman's probably there. Gilman, famous Baschamania audio clip. Mićić is a traitor. All-time Baschamania clip.
Yeah. And Thomas is that way. Yes, Thomas is more hardcore, loyal American than I am.
He's an ultimate patriot.
But you have to compartmentalize and say, all right, some guys are going to go this route. Other guys have a really easy route that they can be stubborn and say, no, I'm a loyal patriot, and I'm going to fight to win the spot once every couple years. Maybe I never make it. Maybe I make it every year. Maybe I don't make it every year. Or I'm going to go to Serbia where I'm guaranteed the spot and I'm going to have the opportunity to compete. Like, it's not war. I'm not going to war. I'm competing in a freaking sport, okay? Now, take what you want about – feel however you want about that, but also come back to reality. And before you say, oh, Stevan Mićić, he scored points for Serbia, not the United States, and he could have scored points for the United States. That's going to be few and far between. That's not going to be the rule. That's going to be the exception every time. The best wrestler from America is going to outscore the best wrestler from America that wrestles for a different nation 99 times out of 100. And that's just the way it is.
I don't disagree with you, but I do think as, let's say you have 21, 22, I think is the final count in men's freestyle for Americans wrestling for other countries. But you got to figure, too, as that number goes up, the percentage also does. where you have, and next year, the other way to look at it too is like, I think the number is going to go up, where you're going to have better and better talent. But also, look at next year. Mićić and Roman are both going to be in the field against the U.S. Now, they could take out each other, which helps the U.S. They could also wrestle someone in the U.S. You're also probably going to have Roman in the Pan Am qualifier, trying to qualify Mexico at 57 kilos. So it's definitely going to get interesting, and especially the Olympic year where everything's condensed.
Yep, it is going to get interesting. And I will say, Stevan, let's be very clear. Stevan is the first expatriate to ever outplace.
Out-medal.
No.
Well, no, he is the only. Well, Amin did it. Amin did it to Downey, but that was our backup.
That's
yeah,
an aberration because we had an injury.
Yeah.
So let's keep stuff in perspective. It's the first time it's ever happened, ever, and it's probably not going to happen very often. So get your panties out of a bunch and just accept.
Unbunch them.
Unbunch them. But man, what a terrific performance! The returning world champion, down 7-2, rallies back. Then he beats the returning world. There's another returning world champion, right? Or another former champion, a Baccarat.
Yeah, he beat Gilman in the finals last year.
Yeah, so he beat the past two world champions. Stevan beat in a row.
Crazy.
Just a terrific.
And he's gonna have his hardest match yet tomorrow.
Terrific, yeah. And Higuchi's had a hard time getting down. He's had a hard time getting down. He spent time up a little bit, and Stevan is not small, and he's gonna have a hard time. It's not an easy cut for him at 2-day weigh-ins. I think he has a real shot. You can't say he beats Yuguyev and Baccarat back to back, and then he has no shot against Higuchi, who has not been at 57 for a while, and when he has, he's struggled.
100%.
Let me go to one other situation that involves an American in this bracket, and I thought that Darian Cruz had a tremendous opportunity here, and you could make a case. That Darian Cruz lost the opportunity to go to the Olympics by a call and a challenge. And
I didn't see that match, but I saw that general consensus there.
Now, he would have had a long way to go, but the road was set up for him. Things happened for him that would have made Darian Cruz an Olympian. And hear me out here. He's wrestling Kartbay from Kazakhstan. He has the only takedown of the match. He's up, I think, 2 or 3-0. They get into a situation. I'll tell you right now, actually. They get into the situation. They call it 4. Now, on one hand, in no way was that a 4. Possibly it could have been 2-2. Possibly, but I don't even think it's that. They call it 4. So now, actually, Darian was up 4-0. They call it 4. It's now 4-4. It was a terrible call. However, I don't think you challenge it, but they did. They did challenge it. They lose the challenge. Number 1, it was not 4. Number 2, don't challenge. Number 3, how they reviewed it and still upheld it is insane. Now Darian's trailing 5-4. He gets a push out. It's 5-5. He loses. Simultaneously, Suleiman Atli, who's the best guy in the quad, loses to Germany.
I saw that one.
Okay? Carpe, who Darian lost to 5-5 on a lost challenge, beats Egypt. The winner of Darian and Kazakhstan had the winner of Mauritius and Egypt. Carpe takes Egypt the next round and then beats the German to make the semis.
Yeah.
Darian Cruz lost an Olympic berth because of a challenge and or bad call.
Well, no. He's still, if he would have made it to the semi, lost to Higuchi, he'd be in the third place bout where Carpe is, and you'd have to win that or the true fifth, which is not going to be easy. It's probably going to be Abakarov and Yaguev for one bronze.
Well, he would have to beat Haratunian is who he'd have to beat. He'd have to beat Haratunian from Armenia.
Well,
and I'm just saying this. Is if there was ever a path to wrestle your way into an Olympic berth, give me Carpe, Egypt, and then Germany.
Yeah, no, I agree. You're right there.
That's something I had to bring up because, man, that is huge. That was huge.
Yeah, I didn't see that. That's a good little golden nugget for the people.
Okay, so 61, I said Vito bronze, I think.
Yeah, we both said Vito bronze, and Vito just
exceeded our expectations.
From NCAAs to the Open to now the Worlds, Vito has done the same thing. At the Open, we said, can he do what he did at NCAAs? At the Worlds, we said, can he do what he did at the Open? The answer is yes. At 61 kilos, Vito Arujau is the absolute best in the world, and it's not even close. The score 10-9 with Magomedov is deceptive.
Yes, because it could have been scored differently.
And it was like 10-7, and he got a caution in one. When it's like, what the hell do you want him to do? He's up in the World Finals by 3 points with 30 seconds to go. What are you going to do, start taking shots? The score is deceptive.
Yeah. Right. I absolutely agree. And as we were talking at the top of the show about the team race situation, a big development here, and a big reason why we said bronze. We said bronze instead of maybe make the finals or win it, was because Atri was the number one seed for Iran. He got beat by Agawa 1-1, which did two things. It made it a more navigable path for Vito, right? It's not that Agawa from Japan who beat Atri, not that he's chopped liver, but you'd rather see Agawa than Atri, so it made an easier path for Vito, but it also knocked Iran totally out. And so, big for team points there.
Vito beats Agawa, it sucks that he's got to go down to 57.
You know what really sucks? It really sucks that the Olympics aren't 10 weights in freestyle. It is such a bummer. It is a bummer to the athletes. It's a bummer to the best guys in the world, right? I mean, Vitaly Raju is the best guy in the world.
And I was talking about this because somebody was asking me earlier if, like, do I think Zain and Vito felt the non-Olympic presence in those weights? And I said, I don't think you can refute that, but you also have to admit that Vito and Zain looked as good as they ever have at those weights and today. So, yes, no doubt the weights are spreading out, and that helps, but Vito and Zain look their absolute as best as they ever have. Somebody was tweeting yesterday, what's your takeaway? That Vito and Zain are at the absolute perfect weight for them.
Well, you know, you could say, and this is my opinion, this is both opinions. Some people could say, okay, but it was at non-Olympic weight. And to that I say, okay, if it was an Olympic weight, there might be a 57 or 2 that could have wrestled 61 and been a factor in the bracket. If 61 was an Olympic weight, there might be 1 or 2 65s that would go 61 because it would then be an Olympic weight. That could be a factor. But you'd have a hard time convincing me that on planet Earth at 61 kilograms, Vito is not the best in the world right now.
The only exception I'd make is the only match that would potentially sway me is the returning gold medalist Taguchi was 61 last year. He's down in 57 because he's preparing for the Olympics. If he stayed up at 61, you do have some guys like that. So
you're right, you do. But until proven otherwise, I mean.
But that's a problem of U.S. depth.
I take nothing.
Correct.
No, it's not a problem with U.S. depth. You know what's a problem of? It's a problem of UWW not fighting for what's right and what's now they fought to save their existence, but going forward, they need to fight for 10 freestyle weights in the Olympics. They need to fight. I don't know what they have to do. I don't know if they have to convince. I don't know if they have to butter their bread and give them a shitload of money. I don't know if they have to cut Greco. I don't know. But the best thing, and you Greco guys out there, feel free to flood my inbox with, well, Greco's the most popular sport, blah, 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 blah. Greco is popular in parts of the world. You know what it doesn't do? It doesn't sell. It doesn't get ratings. Nobody watches it. If you want to grow a sport, if you want to grow a product, make changes. Put the most exciting product. People put freestyle on the Olympics, on the World Championships. It's highly entertaining. People put Greco on. All you have is to say, well, it's a really tough sport. Well, it's really popular. Well, it's a really tough sport. It's not going to grow. It's not going to make new fans. It's not going to entertain existing fans. And I am sure the analytics bear that out. When NBC looks at their ratings on who was watching freestyle versus Greco versus women, I'm sure that freestyle rules a day. And if you want to grow the sport, if you want to have a viable product instead of treading water and just fighting for your existence, you make freestyle 10 weights.
I will say too, just to clarify, when I say it's a product of U.S. depth, I mean that if the U.S. wasn't so deep, we would have our athletes like Vito start cutting to 57, like Higuchi does, like others do, because they know the Olympics are coming. So because we have so much depth, it's not that easy to go to the Olympic weight the year before. You saw what happened. Jaden Cox tried it this year. He didn't even make the weigh-in. It's not that easy. And on top of that, I will say, our guys that, for the most part, go the non-Olympic weights, it's not because it's the easy path or the path of least resistance. It's because it's their natural weight.
Yeah.
70 is Zane's natural weight. 61 is Vito's natural weight. These guys are not going the
natural weight.
Even Burroughs. 74 is a freaking cut for Burroughs. These guys are making decisions because of the Olympic weights.
Right. And, it gets brought up. I bring this up every year because it is such a huge thing. But the fact that there are Olympic weights and non-Olympic weights changes the history of the World Championships every single year. It's not like, every 4 years things change. No. The composition of the weight classes and who is where changes at all 4 years. Because this is what happens. In the year after the Olympics, some guys sit out for rest. Some guys move up because they don't want to cut so hard. Okay? In the second year, guys are pretty much where they want to be weight-wise. In the third year, because it has to qualify, because you have to qualify your weight for your country, people start going out of their natural weight range and going to try to qualify. And then the Olympic year, obviously, there's only 6. So all 4 years of the cycle are impacted. And that, to me, that's a shame. To me, that's a shame. To me, we should have 10 weights, and every year should be treated equally.
That's a great segue to the next point I wanted to bring up, which is Zain did not qualify the weight for the Olympics. So what that means now is that Vito, Gilman, and Fix can all challenge Zane Richards for the spot to go to the Pan Am Olympic qualifier and qualify the weight. And it's already, you're having a lot of question marks, because the biggest question is, obviously Gilman's going to challenge him. We know that. That's not a question. The question marks start is, depending on when the wrestle-off takes place, will Fix, will Vito, will these guys cut to challenge for the weight? Because then the finals is a best of 3 series. So assume you have, let's just say you have Gilman and Fix wrestle, winner wrestles Vito, and then Vito and whoever wrestle, and then winner wrestles Zain, best of 3. Don't know when that timing looks like, so we don't know. Fix, I don't think Vito's going to go down to 25 for the college season. I don't think Fix is going down to 25 for the college season. So will they cut to go down to try to make this to qualify? Nobody really knows.
The wrestling fan in me, the qualifying of 57 to me, unlike most weights, the qualifying for 57 should take care of itself. There's nobody in the Pan American Continental. There's not enough depth that scares me that we won't qualify. However, I would like all our best to give it a shot and fight for their own berth. And the wrestling fan in me would love that. Imagine all the guys that could be there to fight for that spot and for that right. However, if you look at some of the contenders, Vito is big, Thomas is big, Dayton is big. All right, it's a pool for them. What if? So it makes like, are they gonna cut for the Pan Am qualifier wrestle off, then cut for Pan Ams, then cut for trials?
And keep in mind too, for 57, I think the top 3 are going to be Americans. You're going to have whoever the U.S. rep is. You're going to have Roman for Mexico, and you're going to have Darian for Puerto Rico.
That's true. That's the
top point. 3 finishers are probably going to be Americans. And then there's I think there's the last chance qualifier after that. That's it. So,
right. So you're talking about a lot of guys that are big. Again, you'd have to cut not only for the wrestle off, but you'd have to cut for the Pan Am qualifier. That's two. And then you're going to have to cut for the Olympic trials. So to do this is a 3-prong sprint. This is a 3-prong sprint. You just can't say, right, if you make the decision to do this, you are committing to 3 events at this. Or if you're Dayton Fix or Thomas Gilman, you could say, I'm stepping back. Y'all go qualify the weight. I'll see you at the trials, and I'll make weight 1 time.
Can I throw another wrench in there for you?
That is crazy. That's crazy.
You want to hear another wrench?
Yeah. Love wrenches.
Let me get this right. Double check. The Pan Am Olympic Games qualifier is February 29th to March 2nd. It's the weekend before Vito has conference weekend.
And potentially Dayton.
Yeah, I'm looking that up right now. So, and these guys are not taking Olympic red shirts. They've already said, Vito was on Baschamania a couple months ago before Final X. He said, look, I took Olympic red shirt in 2020. I lost 2 years of eligibility because of COVID. I ain't staying in college another year. I'm not taking another Olympic red shirt. I'm not doing it. I don't think he changes his mind. I think that's pretty set in stone. Same with Fix. Didn't Fix take an Olympic red shirt in 2020?
Yeah, I think it was all goofy because he may have.
Yeah, he took an Olympic red shirt in 2020.
But he also had that.
Fix has been in college since 2018. He's not taking the Olympic red shirt. He went 5-0 in 2018.
I don't think he is either, but I also don't think.
This is his 7th year.
I also don't think these guys are going to wrestle Pan Am's down, wrestle conference weekend. A month later, wrestle NCAAs. 2 weeks later, wrestle
Is there a chance we see Vito? Is there a chance we see Vito Fix at both NCAAs and on the senior level? How often does that happen?
Dude, the scenarios are crazy. The scenarios are crazy.
Listen to this. Listen to this history. Listen to this.
Zain not qualifying the weight. Made for a circus. This is now officially a circus.
All right, let's get into it. Should there be a special voting committee that can override Final X results?
No. Erroneous.
Should there be an override that if a non-medalist beats a world medalist, there's a 30-person voting committee that can say
no? That is the most audacious thing I've ever heard. So you're telling me...
I love when you do the cap, lowercase, cap, the SpongeBob font. Oh, it's not the best qualification process.
We're in the greatest era of American wrestling history, and some dude with 7 followers that started following the sport freaking 6 months ago says we should evaluate how we determine our qualifiers. Idiot. Have been for 100 years. We've been trying to tweak how we do our selection process, and we got it to a point where now we are creating the greatest results in American wrestling history. And now you want to change it? Sorry, Joey in mommy's basement that just woke up with crust in his eyes. No.
Well, time out. Look, a couple things here. One, wrestling fans should have whatever the hell opinions they want to have. If you look at NFL fans...
Yes, they can. And I can also have the right to say they're stupid.
I love... By the way, Big 12 championships. No, that was last year. Okay, they were March 4th, 2 days after.
It's the same thing. It's
NFL fans, you have such stupid responses, and that's what makes pro sports great. Like after Chance beat Chance,
that's not what makes pro sports great.
It's what makes the fandom great. Like you can
people say stupid shit.
That you have there's so much to talk about in pro sports because you have so many different opinions. You have such a variety.
Colorado being the greatest thing. Colorado's the greatest thing since Alabama.
Listen, don't make me get it. I'm gonna get it.
Get it.
I'm gonna get it. Hold on. Colorado's great. Colorado's making college football great again.
Colorado's a great story. Colorado's not a great football team.
Hey,
the same reason people shouldn't vote. Colorado's a great example of why you shouldn't leave people vote. People be voting Colorado the greatest thing since sliced bread. And
hey, look at the camera.
What? Oh, look at this camera. Hey, go Bob! I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I hope Colorado continues a great season and has a lot of success, even though they're going to end up 7-5 or 8-4. But that's all right.
That's a fantastic year for them. That's a
fantastic year. Let's not get it twisted and say that they are title contenders because they're not even close.
No, but my only point is if we want to have more fans and you want to have Joey in the mom's basement commenting, let him. Doesn't mean he's right or wrong, but more opinions that should be. For example, after Chenzo lost to Chance last year or 2 years ago, I said I can't wait for Burroughs to beat Chance. Why? It's not a slant against Chance personally. It's just rooting for or against your guys. But this sport has such a agree with me or you're an idiot mentality.
Since when should rooting determine the selection?
No, I don't think rooting determines the selection. I think if you see a Gilman or a Burroughs, let's say Burroughs more than Gilman. If you have a guy like Burroughs who's the greatest of all time, I understand the argument to say, hey, can a special committee just put Burroughs on the frickin' team?
I don't understand that.
I understand that.
At all. I don't understand that at all. This is America. We get shit done by merit, not by a committee, not by bureaucracy. We get shit done by merit. And guess what? 99 times out of 100, the guy that earned it, the guy that won is our best rep. All right?
98 out of 100.
You're suggesting that for that 1%, where somebody doesn't like shit, that the process should be thus. The process should be, and in your own words, you said a returning medalist.
That's just hypothetical.
You're suggesting that the process should be thus. Jordan Burroughs should go to Worlds, medal.
Jordan's the anomaly. I'm not saying make rules for that.
Sit out the U.S. Okay, you're saying Thomas Gilman should go to Worlds.
But no. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm talking in hyperbole just because those are two guys people are talking about, Gilman and Burroughs.
Okay, so let me say you're not saying it. Let me say people on Twitter are suggesting that this be the process. Somebody goes to Worlds, medals, sits out till Final X. The alternative, their opponent goes to the U.S. Open, goes through everybody in America, wins that, goes to a Final X where the guy's sitting out, beats that guy 2 out of 3. And then, if we don't like it, we go to a committee? No. This is America.
Hey,
Jack.
By the way, I don't know if we ever discussed this, but counterpoint, I wrote a whole article on Rokfin about this back after Final X, and we talked about it in the suite at Final X. Was sitting out a disadvantage this year?
I don't care. Then you know what? If sitting out's an advantage, then tell USA Wrestling you don't want to sit out. Run, tell that. Do that. Go that route. You ain't doing it.
No, I agree with you. This year was funny because there was within I think there was a long time. I don't remember. Go read the article. It still applies. It's more for discussion than anything. I am not proposing changing anything. We have the best country team in the world. I'm just talking discussion points.
No, I know, but it's incredibly okay. 99 times out of 100, the winner of Final X is the best rep. B, it's earned, not given. C, the alternative.
Well, I would argue that it's not given. If you're using Jordan Burroughs as the example here, nothing's given when you're a 10-time world and Olympic medalist, 7-time world Olympic gold medalist. To that effect, nothing's quote-unquote given. Right. But I get what you're saying.
I say this in fantasy football all the time. When it comes to the next year's draft. if you're drafting guys solely on what they did in the past, shit changes on an annual basis. And Joe Montana is not the best quarterback in the league anymore. If you're creating an all-star team to win a football game right now, you're not still selecting Joe Montana, right? Things change. People get old. People get better. People get worse. At the U.S. Open, the people that won. At Final X, the people that won. In 2016, Frank Molinaro came out of one of the deepest
So did Jaden
in history. Yeah, but Jaden was a thing. Jaden was
the ninth seed.
Jaden was a thing. Jaden was a thing, and he was also at a weight where that wasn't the only person at the weight was Dake, who was 20 pounds too heavy or too light. But Frank Molinaro went through the toughest domestic bracket in recent history. He won the spot, and everybody goes, whoa. We need a new deal. We need to name the starter. Guess what? Frank reached a medal match, something that nobody had done since, I don't know, the 90s. Frank Molinaro wrestled. He won the trials, and he was the best rep. He was the best rep that we could have sent.
I don't disagree. Look, I am not voting to change the team selection process. I do think we are producing the absolute best team in America, and I think
Joe
if nothing,
you might be right. Alabama might take Joe Montana right now.
Did you see the commercial that they came out with recently? They had all the old timers like Randy Moss, Dan Marino, and they're going back in the field. Dan Marino did say he could throw for 6,000 yards in today's NFL.
He might be able to.
No, but I agree. I'm not suggesting we change the team selection process. It is working. It is just, when you talk about hypotheticals, it's an interesting conversation point because normally when the fans have like an argument or a point on their side, like case in point, Chance and Zain are eliminated, and that's when they come out. You know,
how about this? You know, I don't know, 15 years ago, in week 16 or something, week 15, New England dismantles the Giants. 2 months later, they play in the Super Bowl, and the Giants win on last-second touchdown. Do we vote on who the best team was that year? Because guess what? The Patriots were the best team that year. We don't vote. We determine it on the field, on the mat, on the court.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. All right, so 65 goes tomorrow. Super excited. That weight is going to be just a doozy. 4:30 a.m. tomorrow. That's going to be a fun one. All right, 70. Zane
ran through it.
His finals win was so good.
I watched Little Yaz and I was like, man, this dude's a beast. But I did think he was beatable. I did think that Zane had a shot. I don't know that I would have picked him before the finals. I admit that. But I did think that Zane had a shot, and he got it done.
Yeah, I mean, little Yazdani looked so good, and he just was firing all cylinders. Zayn was firing all cylinders too, but it's also like, okay, Zayn hasn't had that really big win on the senior level, the really big international win, and this was it. This was that big international win.
His career has been a lot like James Green, right? You make a final, you take bronze. You wrestle for bronze, you lose and take fifth. You wrestle for bronze. You know, Zayn's been a lot like that, and you're right. This was his big breakthrough against an elite opponent, against an elite nation, and you know, everything in the year before an Olympics, everything's put in context. What is he going to do? What does this mean? What does it mean for next year? Right? In a 2021 or a 2022 or is different, but in 2023, in a year before the Olympics, it's a little different. And you look at the mass that Zain has. This dude is yoked. You know, where's the 11 pound going to
cut off 65? Cut off. Just get rid of the idea of Zain going down to 65. Just
stop.
Get rid of the idea.
Stop.
Get rid of the idea.
You think Zane's going to go up to 74? No way.
He's a grown-ass man with a baby, with a family. When was the last time he, aside from the Olympic trials, he hasn't been down that low?
Did you ever see The Mechanic? You ever see the movie The Mechanic?
I don't think so. Who's in it?
The dude that's in Batman. Dark Knight.
Christian Bale?
Yeah. He gets really super skinny.
Yeah.
Dude, Zain, just get really super skinny.
So let me ask you, though, because if you're Zain, you have a good feel for the guys below and above you because both the world teamers are in your room. Nick Lee at 65 and Kyle Dake at 74. So he's wrestling with both of them. Zain has spent so much time building his body up to be the perfect 70-kilo machine, which we saw today that he is. Do you really go back to try to shrink your body just to build it back up?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And here's why. You spent so much time building your body up to be a 70. Zain, since 5 years old, has spent his life, same with Dake, same with Taylor. Zain, since 5 years old, spent his life wanting to be an Olympic champion. Okay? Wanting to be a world champion. Today, that goal was accomplished. You spent your whole life wanting something. You take the next 6 months, you get with a nutritionist, you figure it out, you get to 143. You get to 143 because that's your dream. And 163, your odds ain't good. Why did Dake move to State College?
Joe Barron makes the comment that I was just saying. Shrinking his body to get to 65 might jeopardize performance at 70 the following year. I agree.
Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit?
He does. Because you want to build up. My thought, and I literally just texted Zain before we hopped on because I wanted to hop on the show this week. I think that Zain is really thinking by 2028 he can be a good 74 guy. That's my thought. You don't have to win the Olympics this year. You have one or two more cycles in you.
That is an assumption.
Yes, 100% assumption.
Get Zain on the show, and you ask him what his long-term plans are. If he tells you that his long-term plans is 2028 at 74 kilograms, then I will.
Well, but you got to assume he's not going 65.
No, hold on. If Zain says, I'm competing for 2024 and then I'm retiring, then what do you think?
If he was going to retire next year?
Let's say Zain says, listen, I'm through 2024 and I'm done. I'm going to be...
Then 65. My problem is exactly what Joe just said. These wrestlers spend... Zain took a year off to build his body up.
Yeah, but if he's... dude, I don't care. 70... And Zain might be offended for me saying this. I don't know.
Zane's not that easily offended. Don't worry. Say what you want.
But Zain knows I love him. I freaking love the kid. I love the kid since he's... for a decade. He knows I love him. 74 is unrealistic. It's unrealistic.
He's 4 kilos closer to 74. He's 5 kilos to 65. You say unrealistic, but we also don't know what he's walking around at. If I had to make a betting line, I'd say it's easier for him to go down to 65 performance-wise in the field because you're so much bigger. I agree with you there.
I'll just say this. If he plans to wrestle a couple more years, I would say go 65, do whatever it takes, get with a nutritionist. If he plans to go through 2028 and 74 is the goal, then bless his heart. And I think maybe by 2028 he could be the guy, the man. And when I say this, I'm not talking about just in the United States. I'm talking about on the globe. His goal is Olympic champ. What is the best way to accomplish that goal? I don't think it's 74.
You could be right.
Once again, we're back to square one where these decisions have to be made only because of the failure of UWW not having 10 weights in the Olympics.
Agreed.
If that's not the case, we're talking about Zane Rutherford's going to win a goddamn Olympic title next year.
Zain proved this weekend he could win with anybody in that freaking weight at 70 kilos. Zane's the guy.
Yep.
Zain is the guy. All right, it's always good to have a healthy debate. Imagine you had Chance cut down to 74. Hey, imagine Chance cuts down to 74 and Zain goes up to 74, and you have Zain Chance round 1 Olympic trials. Who are you taking?
You're going to be so stupid. I mean, like, what are you going to have Zain? Zane's going to be in the semis, but
the only guy Zain beat at the 2021 Olympic trials was Ashnall. Then he lost to Lee and McKenna. You don't think he could get one win at 74?
Here's the thing. It doesn't matter if Zain. It's not a contest to see if you're able to hang. You have one goal. You have to win the freaking trials.
I don't disagree with you.
It's not like he goes up to 74 and he hits Nolf in the semis and beats Nolf, and so okay, it was a successful experiment. No, there's only one thing that's successful. And that's being an Olympian. Okay?
I don't disagree there. I will say, too, benefit Zain, he does sit in the semis. So if he cuts down to 65, he's in the semis of the 65-kilo Olympic trials day 1.
He needs to go 65.
Well, I'm going to have him on the show hopefully this week when he gets back into town. And I'm going to ask him, and I'm going to send you the eCam link. And I'm going to say, Willie says you cannot go 74, so it better be 65.
Go ahead and say it.
Healthy debate.
Don't get mad at me, but...
No, he's not going to get mad at you. I mean, I think a guy like, anybody in this sport, I think...
I'll say this. Let me... Again, no offense to Zain. I freaking love him. He's like my favorite. I love him. He's among my favorites across the board in all of wrestling.
Well, I thought Nick Lee was your favorite.
Nick Lee is among my favorite.
You can't have two favorites at one weight.
They're not at the same weight right now.
Well, you want them to be. You
know why I want them to be? Because it's the best situation for them. I want guys to pursue their dreams at the weight that's best for them. Now, you could sit back and say, Zain could say, what the hell do you know, Willie? You don't know what's best for me. I'm saying that I think 65 is the best for you, and I want the best for you. All right? And let me say this, and I it's no disrespect. What are the chances he wins 65 versus what are the chances he wins 74?
Agreed. So,
I mean...
Yeah. All right, let's move on to 74.
74, Kyle Dake's going to win a world title tomorrow over Sidikov. I'm really excited about it.
I'll be honest, neither have overtly impressed me.
Oh, I'm so tired of the Kyle Dake didn't look great. I'm so tired of it.
Takatani was beating him, and he got a last-minute push-out to get the win.
I don't care.
You don't think Kyle Dake looked a little tired today?
Yeah. Kyle Dake has terrible body language all the time.
What I thought for a minute Dake was going to lose the quarterfinal. And the moment why was what we were talking about before we got on. Takatani got in, and Dake went to his chest wrap. And we saw what happened to Nolf in that situation at Final X. Dake just crumbled him. Takatani got him to break it and got a takedown. And I go, wow, you don't see Dake lose that position very often. So no, for that was when I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if either one of them wins tomorrow. Either Dake or Sidakov wins tomorrow. Sidakov does the same thing as Dake. They don't wrestle for entertainment. They wrestle to get the W. Sidakov is very gritty. And absolutely. I could see either one of them getting that win.
I say the same thing about Sidakov, right? I can say the same thing about
Correct.
Sidakov.
Agreed.
All day long, and I have the message boards, which I love, right, on Internet. And it's great. There's 50, 60 pages of message board comments and discussion.
I signed up today just for you.
Just thank you. Just on the World Championships. And it's good to follow. But I see these comments that this guy looked good, this guy looked bad. And, they were saying Sidakov doesn't look great and Dake doesn't look great. Sidakov does what he has to do to win. And so does Dake.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
The Georgian.
Takes
out at 74. Takes out Katie right away. Were you expecting that? Because I sure as hell wasn't. Beat him 7-6 first round. Beats the Russian.
No, that was Greek, dude.
What'd I say? Greece?
Georgia.
Greece, Greek, Georgia? Nah, all G. Yeah, Greek.
That kid was 5th last year at U23s where Carter was bronze. I mean, I'm not saying that kid's good. That kid's good. He ain't that. I mean, kid's good.
He went on a little tear. I mean, okay, so here's the thing. Dake only beat him 4-1.
Yeah, he's good. Dake beats a lot of people, not by a lot.
Chamizo, by the way, I looked for the clip, Willie. I couldn't find it. I'll just give you the flowers. I don't know if it was the bracket show or the show before. That's what I was trying to find.
It has to be the bracket show.
So for those who maybe didn't listen, Willie, when I said Chamizo and Gomez and whatever, you came out and said, I'm over Chamizo.
Over him.
Sure enough.
Actually, what I said was, I'm over Chamizo. He's lazy, he's fat, and he's or something like that.
Now, to be fair, he did lose to Takatani, who went on a run and only lost to Dake. To be fair.
Yeah. I mean, to
and then Gomez was up on, Anthony Gomez Valencia. He was up on Takatani. Go, what's going on? He was up like 5-1 or something.
5-2, yeah. And then he just does what he does and melt down. But yeah, I don't know. To say that Takatani only lost to Dake, but Chamizo only lost to Takatani. I mean, listen, you got to beat a Takatani if you want to be in the conversation. You ain't beating Takatani.
I don't disagree. Yeah.
You ain't beating Takatani like, I'm over you. I said I'm over you. I'm still over you.
74 kilos was just wild, though. It definitely lived up to the.
You had the 2018 World Finals was match 1 with Kinchadze and Sidakov, and Kinchadze had a lead at the break. Cotty lost first round. Somebody else, Chamizo lost for a round. There was 3 World or Olympic finalists that lost in round 1.
Crazy.
Hey, now tomorrow, right? I mean, I think most people consider it a toss-up. They don't like the way Sidakov looked. They didn't like the way Dake looked. Do you think there's a possibility that weight cut got to Dake a little bit?
Yes, I do. I think, I'm wondering how much of Dake telling people that he's aging backwards he believes and how much is just like playing into it. I do think that weight cut gets to him. I do.
I mean, this is a guy who went up to 86. He spent a lot of time at 79. He's down at 74 now and getting older. The weight cut might be getting to him. I never thought I'd say that, but as much as I say Dake is Dake and he always has body language, I mean, if there is something to it, maybe it's the weight cut.
By the way, we were talking yesterday about Dake, Snyder, and Taylor. Who's the best? I don't care what Dake does tomorrow. Taylor's that guy. Parris
texted me the same thing.
Taylor's just. I mean, I put in my graphic that I put out saying, I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll get to 86 in a minute.
All right. We'll talk about 86 and one quick thing about 79. I thought Marsteller competed well. I thought the guy that from Algeria, people started on the message board started saying, Chance didn't look great. That guy was really weird. He was long, he was strong, he had really good balance. He was awkward.
Well, Chance bit him.
Yeah, Chance bit him. I don't even think the Algerian know the rules.
Do you see the Algerian coach going like this to the fans? They challenged the bite.
Yeah.
No, Chance did look good.
I thought Chance looked fine in that match. I thought he was. If you ever wrestled somebody that felt weird, a lot of times it'll be a guy that stinks. But sometimes you'll get a guy that isn't half bad. Like he's kind of good, but really awkward, and he feels weird. And to me, that's the match. I thought that was what was going on with the Algerian. He had this weird balance thing, and I think Chance felt a little something weird, was like, I ain't messing with this. I ain't pushing the issue on this guy. And plus, he got exposed early. And so I didn't think, just because he didn't blow out some guy from a country that you never hear of, I didn't think he wrestled back.
I thought he did good his first match. His second match is more so how I thought the first one would have gone. Like he got behind early, and then Chance is a very good defensive wrestler. Okay. So if you get out to a lead for him, Chance isn't that offensive. He's so good because he's very hard to score on. So when that guy got out to a 6-0 lead, then it's that's so where.
This is where I wanted to defend you. I think you're spot on, and this is where I wanted to defend Chance. If that match, if it doesn't go 6-0 inside of a minute, if it doesn't start off like that, I think Chance can win that match. I think two things happened. Gut, and all of a sudden it's 6-0.
Mm-hmm.
And then the referee swallowed his whistle. That guy wouldn't engage at all. Chance is chasing him around the mat. No warning, no passive, no fleeing. You're 100% right that Chance isn't built to score in bunches. I just think that Chance went 0-1. It was 1-1. It was a lopsided score. He didn't surpass expectations against Algeria in round one, and he went down big early. So the Boo Birds come out and say our selection process needs to be tweaked, and I don't think that was the case. I think Chance was fine in round one. I think the situation got out of control in round two. I think the referees could have been a little bit more proactive in keeping the Azeri engaged in the second period. All of that didn't happen, and I don't think that Chance was a bad rep or an unwarranted rep.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, listen, I'm not going to throw out Jordan's a great friend of mine. it's very hard to throw out that bias, and I'll always take the biases and the friendships I have, and it factors in, no doubt. It definitely.
I love Jordan Burroughs. I love him. I loved him his whole career. To me, he's an icon and a GOAT and a tremendous human being and tremendous family. I am not saying that he wouldn't have performed better. What I'm saying is we have a process, and that was the result of the process. And you have to be accepted. You have to accept it.
Listen, I would have loved to see Jordan on the team, even if that spot was, as you put, given to him. But I will say that's the outlier to our process. Our process works. Right. It's just sometimes after Zain or Chance doesn't medal, you sit there and question the one or two outliers where the process.
Well, would Jordan have performed better? Maybe.
Yes, he would have medaled.
Would Gilman have performed better?
Not if he had the same weight cut. It seems he had at Final X.
Maybe, but you have to go by results. You can't be in the NLCS and the Phillies beat the Mets, but the Major League Baseball and the fans vote and they say the Mets should go to the World Series. You can't do that.
David Petruzzi is right. 5 guaranteed medals and a potential for 7 is pretty incredible with 6 first-time reps. We set the over-under to 5.5 medals, so I'm happy that. All right, so 86 kilos. David Taylor is out here acting like it's the U.S. Open. Tech, pin. In the World Championships, he's the number 1 pound-for-pound guy in the world right now. And if you talk, I think Burroughs overall is the GOAT. He's a 10-time medalist. He's a 7-time World Olympic gold medalist. He's changed the sport. Everybody who comes before him, John Smith, Cal Sanderson, they're all right there. Nobody has done it.
And JB, I will always two other things. 1, the Soviet Union's broken up. 2, so there's more countries, right? There's more Russians. 2, there's also now transfers, which makes things even crazier. And 3, Jordan won under 3 or 4 different rule sets. It was like, and Jordan won when there was no seeds.
Jordan also beat.
And Jordan won when there was one-time weigh-ins.
Jordan also beat and kept Dake and Taylor off the team. 13, 14, 15, 17, Dake and Taylor were in the finals, and he kept those guys, and their success fuels his legacy. So no matter what, I think Jordan is the GOAT, and the discussion is very fun, but I think he's the GOAT. But David Taylor, he has solidified himself as in that top 1% of the greatest wrestlers. Like, I had put in my graphic that it's wild, and I don't care what anybody says, it is wild that in 6 matches, David Taylor's beat Yazdani 5 times. It is wild. I don't care if you don't want to call it a rivalry anymore. I don't care what you want to say about it, but it is just crazy that David Taylor can own the entire field, including Yazdani. Yeah. That, to me, it's like, yes, David has separated himself from Yazdani, no doubt. It's still...
Yeah, I don't like the... number one, he separated himself. That match wasn't close. Last year wasn't close. I mean... First of all, that call, I can't even believe that. Did Yazdani and the Iranian coach really sincerely think that was their point? That was 4? I mean,
the fans sure did. The Iranian fans 100% did.
Listen, there's dumb fans from every country. Everybody knew. I mean, whatever. But I don't like when people say it's not a rivalry. Like, okay, it's 5-1 on the board. Okay, Sedulaev's like 4 or 5-1 over Snyder. It doesn't matter. When you talk about Sedulaev, there's one guy you want to see him wrestle. When you talk about David Taylor, there's one guy that's must see TV. And it's rivalry, not rivalry. What's the definition of a rivalry? Yankees and Red Sox are both they're in 4th and 5th place in their division. It's a rivalry. It's call it what you will. It's the most anticipated matches on planet Earth.
I agree. And David Taylor may separate himself as the favorite in that rivalry, but when you have a guy of Yazdani's caliber where his only losses are to David Taylor, those are his only losses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. And I think that...
Listen to this. I'm going to read to you Yazdani's last losses. Today, David Taylor. Last loss before that, David Taylor. Last loss before that, David Taylor. Lost last before that, David Taylor. Last non-David Taylor loss was 2016 to Sabalov.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah. So, one more point on Taylor. I think it's good for the sport that he is so fluid. Too often we see guys stance in motion, banging, grinding, this and that. David makes it like poetry. David is a risk taker. David makes it fluid. I think the aesthetics of David Taylor makes it good for wrestling. This guy's rolling across his back for a suicide cradle at World Championships, right? This guy's pinning. This guy's not. He's not hanging on to a lead. He's putting people away. He's putting Yazdani Charati away.
His ability to wrestle like a folk style match in freestyle never gets old to me. He went through the back door and then turned and came out and took Yazdani down like it was a folk style match.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Beyond the wins and losses, beyond the titles, I think his aesthetics are good for young wrestlers to see.
Yeah. So yeah, David Taylor, now a 3-time world champion, 4-time world Olympic champion. I mean, you got to assume he's going to win next year. You got to assume he's a massive favorite heading into the... Let me ask you this question. Discussion point, healthy debate. Healthy debate. Will David Taylor have a harder time in the Olympic trial finals or in the Olympics?
Stop.
I thought Aaron Brooks wrestled him harder than Yazdani did. Now, they're teammates. It's obviously going to be closer. But I think the Olympic trials could be harder at this point than Yazdani.
No, I'm not. Listen, Aaron Brooks is freaking amazing. And Aaron Brooks is the future. But I don't know. I mean, put it this way. I don't doubt that. I think AB can keep it close.
Who's the harder match? I'm not asking who's going to beat him. I'm saying who's the harder opponent.
I would say
we got 7 months to discuss it, so no rush on the response.
Let me ask you this: who wins in a match at 86 kilograms right now? Aaron Brooks or Yazdani Charati?
Aaron Brooks.
You think?
Yes.
I don't know. I'd love to see it.
I
don't
think
know.
Aaron Brooks.
I don't know the answer to that question.
Aaron is, and there's no doubt that part of it is Aaron Brooks is in that room. Aaron Brooks' coaches are the coaches that have coached David Taylor to success. Aaron Brooks is as talented of a wrestler as you can get.
Yeah.
So,
and, they're in the room. They probably feel each other once in a blue moon, or at least see each other. They felt each other at Final X, and Aaron Brooks is going to have another year of experience, and I just cannot imagine a world where David loses that final.
David's a huge favorite to win any match he's ever in for the rest of his life in wrestling. I'm just saying, I think that at this point, I would say Brooks is a harder match for him to win than Yazdani. He's beat Yazdani 5 times out of 6. Brooks, not only are Brooks and David wrestling so much, again, the coaches, Penn State Penn State had two world gold medalists today. Those Penn State coaches are for real. And when you have a wrestler like Aaron Brooks,
no, listen. I get it. I just said Aaron Brooks is the future at that weight, and he has youth on his side. He has experience on his side. He probably has hunger on his side and drive, right? That's the one thing. The only thing that scares me about David Taylor is complacency, dude. I just murdered the only guy that's supposed to be close to me on earth. How hard does he train? How hungry is he? Hungry dogs fight.
Well, David's going to get. Listen to this. David's going to get.
Scares me. The only thing that scares me, as much as we see David pretty much beat up on Yazdani Tirati, the thing that scares me the most about Aaron Brooks and Yazdani Tirati is hunger and complacency. Because skill-wise, right now, David's the best in the world, and maybe one of the best to ever do it.
David Taylor has a lot of money on the line. If you're talking about David Taylor and how hungry he is for this year, I get. Next year, David Taylor is a returning gold medalist. And if you go back to 2016, one of the things that many could say were why Jordan didn't perform that great was the amount of financial pressure on him from endorsement deals, living the dream medal fund, everything else. David Taylor this year was not nearly as incentivized as he's going to be next year. Next year, you have a ton of money. You're going to have Olympic sponsors. You're going to have potentially, the big finale. So I think next year David Taylor could be hungrier than ever.
I agree, and it was true. There was a lot of pressure on Jordan going to Rio. To me, I saw it in the match with Juice Box, whatever his name was. It's a Russian. That was totally out of character for Jordan Burroughs. That being said, I don't know. I don't think that David's going to be distracted. I don't think that David's going to be distracted by money, and I hope he's not, because he needs to be focused on maintaining and frankly, he needs one more year. One more year. If I was David, I'd be just saying, I'm going to fight tooth and nail to be superior and train my ass off. And I'm not saying train his ass off like grind himself into the ground. I'm saying do it smart. But just give me one more year, cash in on everything, earn your legacy, plant your flag as one of the GOATs, and all good things will happen.
Yeah, I agree. All right, 92 kilos. Zahid.
92, great first match, right?
I saw everything from Zahid I thought I would, both the bad and the good. Zahid has been impressing me at 92 kilos. In that first match, when he was in deep and he broke the guy, he just straight broke him. He bullied him. He came through. He got the takedown over the Iranian, and he just broke him. And I go, wow, Zahid is fast. Zahid is strong. 92 is Zahid's weight. And then in the next match, it seemed like he gassed towards the end.
All right, so my thing was I always and forever will think I think two things that are like universal. Zahid is supremely talented. Supremely talented. That will never change. I will always have confidence in his skills, his quickness, his slickness. Yeah. Another thing that I will always believe is that I will always be concerned about an Iranian with Zahid, because they slow you down, they stay square, they push it to the pace. They affect your lungs. And so for that reason, other than the fact that he had beaten him a couple months ago, I was really worried about that match. And Zahid starts rallying back, and he gets down big early. He starts rallying back. And so you kind of had to think, hell yeah, we beat Iran. It's great for the team race. If he can beat that guy, he should go to the finals. And frankly, one, you have to worry about if the Iranian maybe faded him a little bit to have him early and then have to come back, because he definitely lacked pop in the second match. He lacked pop. He didn't take risks like he normally does. And so for that reason, I think that maybe the Iranian took a little out of him. And I also think that the match came down to a brain fart, in my opinion. I think Zahid was worried about getting a caution for fleeing or getting a passive or going on the clock. You could hear the ref saying, blue, 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 blue. Mark Perry's yelling, circle in, stay in there, give me one good shot. And that Zahid's attempt was terrible. It had to be between the ears, because that's not you can sit down with Zahid and watch the match right now, and Zahid will tell you that's not a good execution, right? I just think there was a little bit of pressure. I'm going to get hit with something. I got to do something, because that was not wise.
Yeah, and the Iranian beat him back in the final ranking series this year, 6-3. And I was thinking about that before the match, and after I'm like, wow, Zahid can medal here, which would have been pretty. It's still he's in repechage tomorrow morning, so he can still potentially medal. He sits in the 86 kilo semis Olympic trials if he wins. A lot in the line here for him, and I was extremely high on him after that match. And then it was 1-1, and like you said, I don't know if he didn't know he was winning or what, but then he just kind of gave up a sloppy takedown, and then I'm like, ugh.
It was just an errant shot. It was just, I think, a brain fart. And if he just defends and wins that match 1-1, he beats the Japanese guy next, and he's in the finals, and we ain't even talking about this.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it.
So we'll see. Now he's got to start his descent to 86, and he's got his hands full for sure.
Yeah. 97, we know what, we went over that bracket draw. It's going to be Sedgelayev Snyder in the semis. And then 125, Mason Parris. I said, my feelings coming in was that Mason could probably, I said, Mason, if you take the quads and look at them, of those 4 quads, where would you want to be? I'd want to be where Mason is. That being said, every one of them is going to be a tough out. I could see Mason winning. I think Mason can win each of those matchups to the semis. I think Mason could lose each of those matchups to the semis. Can you string them together? And Mason did exactly that. Mason, he beats Kazakhstan. He has a close one with Canedo, the Cuban that wrestling from Italy. He beat that giant human being named Dang from China, who's been really consistent in that 5-7-ish range.
The end of that match was scary.
The end of the match was scary, but again, like, Mason was the better wrestler that whole match. He almost let it slip through his fingers, but I ain't too worried about it, because all's well that ends well. He shouldn't have gotten that situation. However, things worked out. Oh, hold on. Let's go back to the Mark Perry.
That was an abomination. He kicked the buzzer on accident and actually challenged it.
That almost cost us the match. And let me explain why that was so stupid. Number one, it's during the break. Number two, Like he said, I don't want to challenge. He said, I'm not challenging anything. He said it when it happened. The referees need to understand that something happened. They also need to understand that you can't challenge you can't come back after the break.
Well,
and
no,
say,
so he kicked it before. So what happened is at the very end of the period, Mark comes up to talk to him, and as he steps up as the period's ending, he kicks it. But it was like 1 second, time's up, he takes a step and kicks it. If you were going to challenge it, the timing lined up. But he looked at it right away, he stood up, he basically tripped over the button, and he's like, I didn't do that. And he kept going thinking they were going to understand, and they didn't.
Yeah, that's just, I mean, you can't have matches decided on a cable glitch.
Right.
Right? I mean, there has to be some intervention there in some way.
Yeah, that was wild.
Say, well, you kicked the buzzer, so, you lose a point.
Yeah, that was crazy. Thank God it did not come down to that.
Thank God it didn't come to that. But somebody at UWW is going to have to look at that. I mean, again, all's well that ends well. It didn't affect the match. But, man, in a match between Iran and USA in round 1, it's going to come down to a kicked cord? No, stop it. Okay, back to Mason.
His match with Gino was very winnable, too.
Yeah. 8-6. Mason led 2-1 at the break. And then Gino late with, he outscored him 4-0 in the last half of the
I had penciled in Mason into the finals when I seen how both of them were wrestling. Gino looked like, man, he's taken a lot of wear and tear over the years. Mason looks like that young, just like Zari. Zari's only 22. Mason's 23. They're young. They're both fast, athletic, strong. I thought those were the finals.
That's just aesthetically, again. Mason moves quicker. His feet are great. You just look at him and he's different than 99% of other heavyweights. And he's young, and these guys,
it was
some people say Gino is not as old as you make him out to be, but they got a lot of reps on him. I'm bullish on Mason Parris.
So am I. It's also funny that Brian Hazard was like, Mason, the youngest guy here at 23 years old. Well, Zari's 22, so maybe not. He caught it right away.
I thought it was funny, Brian Hazard on the call with the Yazdani, David, when David drove through him, and they kind of rolled through, and Hazard won it. Hazard on the call did a good job of like saying, "Come on, that's ridiculous." Like without saying, "Come on, that's ridiculous," he was like, I don't see Yazdani change his direction or stop him at any moment, so I don't know. It was a good job of saying that is not for Yazdani.
Erica Wiebe, she was doing a pretty good job on commentary.
Yeah,
I really think
Erica Wiebe's a cool chick, man. You would like anybody that would meet her. She's awesome. I think she did a good job. I did think she tried to like oversell it a little bit, like some things like we're seeing some really great wrestling here, and these guys are doing it. It was 0-0.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Is State College the greatest wrestling city in the world?
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Book it.
On based on what?
Oh, that's where I live.
Oh, Idaho. I thought you said Iowa. I was typing something.
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, baby.
Yeah, because the brain's there. Is State College the best wrestling city in the world?
Yeah.
Dagestan too. And somebody said Iowa. Listen, Iowa fans, they might be for wrestling fan bases. Iowa is probably number one. They're better. Penn State has a lot of older fan bases. They're a lot of older fans. It's not the long history of Iowa.
Yeah, but that's changing.
athletes and coaches.
I'm not saying I was changing. I'm saying the generation. But Pennsylvania is rabid. I mean, you go to a state tournament and you see kids from 8 years old to people that are 70 years old, and they're looking at the book every year, right? This guy did this in 1968, and they know their trivia and they know their history, and so this school has the most champs, and this guy did this, and this guy won 2-2-2-1, and they love it. They eat it up. And I always say, there's a misconception that Penn State just came out of the woodwork. Penn State was top 10 in wrestling for overall programs. Penn State's top 10 for 100 years, right? But it's only recently really been great, and that's changing the culture in Pennsylvania, as if Pennsylvania needed any reason to have a better culture. I'll tell you, a lot of kids, I think because of the lack of star-studdedness, fanfare, national team titles, national individual titles. I think because of lack of that at Penn State, the flagship program in the state of Pennsylvania, kids would and fans would dig high school wrestling more than they would college for 30 years. And now that's changing. Now fans, parents, casuals, high school wrestlers, they're getting into college. And the fan base at Penn State is only going to get better. I mean,
and
I'm not going to surpass Iowa, but the narrative that Penn State fans are Johnny-come-latelys or that they're geriatrics, that's going to go out the window because times are changing.
And if you look at it, so Penn State, NLWC at the World Championships, David Taylor gold medal, Zain gold medal, both Penn State guys, and then you have two transfers in. Dake's wrestling for gold tomorrow, and you got to believe Snyder will probably wrestle for a medal. So you're talking 4 out of 10, and then you're talking 4 out of potentially 7 medals is in that state college room.
Yeah.
And there's no signs of them slowing down. There's no question marks right now for Penn State.
No, and that's the crazy part too, is that that not only are the incumbents, the medalists, mostly training there, the next crop's all training there.
Mm-hmm. And that gives such a recruiting advantage. I think it was Messenbrink maybe who did an interview and said something along the lines of like, they're winning. It's not an NIL bag of why you'd want to go there. You see people at all levels. NCAA, they're winning the team title. They have 4 or 5 NCAA champions. They're winning on the world level. They're winning the Olympic level. So it's like, that's a lot of incentive to want to go somewhere. Forget NIL. Sure, it doesn't hurt. Yeah. They're going to get NIL deals, I'm sure, but Spartan will be up in the next 2 cycles. I agree. Vito, Yanni, Shapiro, Spartan is definitely going to be up there soon.
Yeah, for sure. And other guys, too, at Spartan, But what Penn State has built, and I don't know. NIL is one thing, and I don't know, maybe if I'm an 18-year-old kid or maybe if I'm a 40-year-old parent and I have an 18-year-old and program X offers me $200,000 to go to that school and Penn State offers me $100,000 or Penn State offers me just a full scholarship or Penn State offers me 75% scholarship.
I think the best NIL deals seem like they'd be on the outside because the obvious is go to Penn State. The other schools, like the Iowas, like the Ohio States, like the Michigans that want to contend and aren't drawing as much natural demand, that's
Michigan's doing a great job.
Yeah.
Michigan's doing a great job. Yeah, you're right. You're right. The the bigger NIL opportunities might be at the programs that are trying to compete or
Correct.
trying to get the non-PSU guys. So, yeah, I agree 100%. And I said it before. If I'm Kale, and I don't know what Kale's doing, I don't know what the offers are. But if I'm Kale, I'm not in a rush to overbid. Listen, the proof is in the pudding, right? I mean, you can. I would have the opinion of you can take more money.
David Petruzzi's right. Bernie and Nagao both said they got more financial offers from other schools, wanted to go to Penn State because of everything else.
Right. And well, I can tell you that's happening with high school seniors right now. There's 100% without a doubt. I know for a fact that school X is offering PJ Duke this, and Penn State is not offering as much as that, right? And so, like, there's a decision to be made.
Can we closing the loop real quick on Mason Parris? I do think that even if he didn't medal this weekend, I think he's got to be, barring Gable entering, the favorite for the Olympic trials. But now that he did medal, and now that he's in the Final X or the Olympic trials finals, I do think that's a great advantage for him. Because you could get someone like a Kirk or like someone else that if you don't necessarily wrestle the best match, like Mason sitting out is a great advantage for him now that he has that.
I didn't think about that. Who is his biggest threat? Not named him.
I think Kirk.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. You know what's a big advantage? I'll tell you what's a big advantage. He's sitting out, and this is why I'm bullish. I'm bullish on him because he's a rare athletic heavyweight. Taha, his exploits are known. Gino, his exploits are known, and they're relatively athletic, but they don't move the way Mason does. Mason has youth on his side. He has athleticism on his side, and for the first time in his life, he's going to be able to train freestyle full time. This was a kid that was a multi-sport athlete all through high school. Then he went to college, and he's folk style, freestyle. Now, freestyle, baby. First time in his life.
And so, speaking of youth, by the way, not just because I'm a Penn State guy, but that's one of the reasons, like Kirk being in that room and having Snyder in the room and having the caliber. You have David Taylor, Kyle Snyder in the room. And Kirk has that freak athleticism that I think Mason does and Gable does. But Mason...
Kirk's also going to be working on riding time for 6 months.
No, 100%. So I also think, too, like...
Could you imagine Mason Parris with a top turn? Could you imagine Mason Parris with parterre defense?
I also think that,
Mason Parris fine-tuning what, to this point, has really just been raw talent.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think if you factor in guys like Wyatt Hendrickson, Nick Wiz, who have been on the world team, like medalist, I think that these guys, if like sitting in the finals, I didn't think it was initially such a advantage at heavyweight, but not having to go through that gauntlet, I do think it's a great advantage. And now he doesn't got to qualify the weight. He can sit in the finals of the Olympic trials, and whoever goes and wins the challenge tournament on Saturday, he can wrestle him on Sunday.
Yeah, it's an incredible advantage. It's an incredible advantage in a weight that there's parity. Quiz is really good. Kirk is very dangerous. Wyatt Hendrickson, talk about high ceiling, right? And there's other guys too that I'm failing to mention right now, but he's sitting in the finals, and it ends on Saturday, or the mini tournament's Saturday. He gets 12 hours to watch film on one guy.
Yep. So I think it's a good. So, yeah, I am glad that USA Wrestling exceeded our expectations over the last couple of days. We're sitting very pretty heading into the final day. My expectations are high. I hope Nick Lee can ride that momentum. He doesn't have all the experience in the world over there, but I think he's got the talent and he's got the coaches that I think he can go on a run. I'm bullish on him. Yeah, everybody, I had some people talking about my bias for Nick Lee versus Zane Richards. Like, yeah, no duh. Nick Lee's a friend of mine. He's a client of mine. Of course I'm bullish on the kid.
Yeah, I'm bullish on him too. I mean, the fact of the matter is I believe Nick Lee can do anything he puts his mind to. But I mean, the fact of the matter is that is a freaking gauntlet, and there's so much talent there, man.
Ben Cooter, does he enter the Olympic trials?
Stop it, guys! Stop it.
Why?
Well, he's currently in the middle of a 4-3 defense. Then he's going to transition to Folk as a true freshman, and then he's going to beat these seniors at the Olympic trials? Stop.
I didn't say he's going to make the team, but he can make things interesting. He's a world champion as it stands right now.
Yes, he is. Let's not. I love.
He's
Ben.
bulking up because the football coach says of Iowa's gambling problem, which we already talked about.
I just think that's. I almost think that's. I don't know. I feel bad. I do not even want that for Ben. You're gonna go. Football, folk style, Big Tens, NCAAs, true freshman.
I don't have high. Listen, I don't have high expectations for him this year because of all the reasons you mentioned. But it's a name that if you're talking storylines and you're talking about what ifs and potentials, he's one of the greatest high school athletes to ever come out of Iowa. He's training in the Iowa room. I'm just throwing his name out there.
I'll tell you one that we didn't mention, and I mean, there's a lot of guys we didn't mention because we're just talking off the top of our heads. But Colton Schultz, I wouldn't be surprised if Colton Schultz went freestyle.
I think he's sticking to Greco. Him and what's his name? Kuhn. I think they're both just going to stick to Greco. Colton Schultz loves Greco. He just loves Greco.
Colton Schultz does not like the current state of affairs at USA Greco.
Ooh.
That's fact. I mean, I was told he was going freestyle.
That'd be a fun development.
I mean, from his father. Now,
that's a pretty good source.
Yeah. Now, things could change. I mean, I think it might have been a lot of emotion in that. Like, man, I really hate the state of the program right now. But that's what they told me that.
That again, another fun wrinkle that could be thrown in there. So if you're Mason Parris, and now you can avoid guys like that and the caliber. What's his name's yelling at me right now because I said caliper instead of caliber. Caliber, the burr months, caliber, the caliber of talent. Yeah.
All right.
We get Snyder said July of tomorrow.
Yes, we do.
If they both make it there, of course, but noon Eastern-ish. Noon Eastern-ish.
You know, it's interesting. It's interesting now, you know, that I guess not that my expectations have changed, but it's like Snyder got him early, said Gelayev has had his number since, and now it's almost like a relief for me as a fan and as a Kyle Snyder lover, that now I can almost like sit back and like not be nervous and just be like, hey, let's see if you can do it, right? Like before it was like, man, I'm tense and I'm nervous and like, ooh, I'm like this, that. And now I'm like, you know what? it's probably not going to happen, but it could. And I don't know. I feel like pressure is off.
It's almost the opposite of Yazdani Taylor, because Snyder has lost the last like 4 times they've wrestled. So it's almost the opposite. Let me look. I just pulled it up. So Snyder lost in 2021, lost in 2020, lost. Where's the other one?
They didn't hit the 1 year.
He beat him in 2017, then he didn't beat him again.
Right. So I think you guys in the Joe Barron, I think you're kind of on it, right? It's been a while, and it hasn't really been that close, and so now it's like pressure's off, and you know, I say that, and who the hell cares what I think as a fan? I'm just telling you how I feel, right? But
yeah,
who knows? Maybe Kyle feels that way too. Who? Maybe Kyle's like.
Well, I think that was part of the reason for transferring to the NLWC initially too, is wanting to try to get that little bit of extra edge to beat Sedgulayev. And, you know, Snyder's a guy who we've talked about it a couple shows ago, like he always lets it rip. He goes and he wrestles everywhere he can. He takes up every opportunity to get better. He'll take a loss here or there in the process. So, yeah, I do think some of that pressure is for sure off.
Yeah.
Let's
EJ,
go,
we're not saying we think he wins, bud. We're saying
we're rooting for him to win. Sedgulayev is the favorite. We both picked Sedgulayev to win the weight when we did the bracket show, and we think Snyder's going to win bronze. But we're, of course, still going to root for him.
Yeah. So that's the big one. Let's go Nick Lee. Let's go Kyle Snyder.
And the women start tomorrow. Jakara starts tomorrow. Jennifer Page starts tomorrow. And then Zahid is match 1, 4:30 in the morning, Eastern time. Zahid is match 1. If he wins, he's in the bronze medal match.
Yep. And that would be medal 6 and hit the over. Right?
We got what? 3 golds and a bronze. That's 4. Dake's wrestling for a medal. That's 5. Yeah. Yep. That would be 6.
That would be the over, and then Snyder would hit 7.
No. Snyder would be 6. We have 3 gold and a bronze.
Yeah.
And then Dake's wrestling for a gold. That's 5.
Right. And if Zahid.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
All right, my man.
All right.
Congrats on the Bills victory.
Next week, it's you versus me. Bills versus the Redskins.
Hail to the Redskins, baby.
Did they play yet today?
They're playing right now. I'm doing the show instead because that's how dedicated I am.
That's
where my priorities are.
Hell yeah, I love it. Listen, I took the Cowboys -6 first half, and a second later you texted me, show, and I said I'm in. And I went into the office. America, baby. All right.
Baby.
We'll keep this rolling. All right, see you, everybody.
Hey, send me those files.
I will.